everyone, I hope you're doing well. As you know, spring season is upon us and care group starts this weekend. I hope you guys had a good break and hope you're excited to get back into the groove of care group. What I want to do today, this is our first care group leader video. What I want to do is just remind all of us what care group is all about and then briefly explain the material, the format, the layout, so that you can use it most effectively and so the material can be as useful to you as possible. So what is care group? What's the point of care group? Well, on one hand, care group is a place where we build relationships with one another. Like Pastor Steffi said a few weeks ago, we cannot do this life, we cannot do this journey on our own. We need other people alongside us to help us in our walk with Jesus. So care group is a perfect place for that. It's smaller, it's more intimate than say Sunday service, and it's very conducive to building meaningful relationships that will help us in our walk with Jesus. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is discipleship. In these weekly gatherings, we want to help one another to follow Jesus. We want to know His Word. We want to conform our lives around the truth of the Bible and the gospel, and the way we do that is through our discussions. So let's get to the material, the discussion material. So I'm going to try to go through this lightning fast and just give you as brief of an overview as possible. So first, let's start out with the format. The format of this material is broken down into 4 sections. You have your warm-up, word, and then you have application and prayer. So this is kind of the flow. You have your warm-up, go to the word, and then you end in application and prayer. Warm-up, we're going to have the same questions each and every week. These questions, what are you thankful for? What do you need prayer for? They help people to start thinking about their life, about the week, gives them a chance to share anything significant that might have happened. It teaches them to acknowledge the good things in their lives and also to acknowledge their needs and to bring those needs to God. So it's very discipleship oriented in the sense that by asking these questions, we're teaching people to give thanks, to give praise, and to identify their needs and bring them to God. Now you can mix it up. You can have icebreaker questions or icebreaker games, but I'm going to leave that up to you guys because I think you guys know what would work best with your group. Next section is word. The word section basically follows the outline of the sermon that came the Sunday before. Now usually every week there will be an introduction. You can basically read this to your care group if you want. It's an introduction to the discussion, has a little opening verse that you can read if you'd like, and then the next few points kind of show the progression of the discussion. One thing I want you guys to know is this. These points, point 1, 2, and 3, you do not have to read these to your care group members. This is just to help you, the facilitator, know the flow of the discussion, okay? And also, one thing I want you guys to know is, as you're going through the word section, what you don't want to do is re-preach the message. That's not what we're trying to do here. What you want to do is you want to, refresh your memory as far as what was talked about, what were the main points, and then from there, you want to ask thought-provoking questions that inspire conversation. We want to get our care group members to think more deeply on each topic or each point. So you don't want to talk the whole time. You don't want to re-preach the sermon. You want to go through each point and in each point ask thought-provoking questions that inspire discussion. Now I provided some questions that you can use, but in your time of preparation, if you think of any other questions you'd like to ask, go ahead. Feel free to do that. And then in the blue are some notes from me to you. This is just to help you understand each point better, just to help you out in case you're not really sure what the purpose of the point is. So that's to help you guys. You don't have to read that to your care group members if you don't want. So that's what you want to do. And then at the end, application. There's going to be some questions in here that are the same every week, and then there's going to be some questions that are switched up. But the point of this section, this is actually important. Since we're not just rehashing the message, the goal of this discussion is to help our care group members think more deeply on these topics, and then to also apply these topics and themes into their life, to work it into their life. So this application section, although smaller, is actually more significant. So we want to make sure that our care group members are not only thinking about the themes, but also thinking about how to apply them in their lives. So that first question, what did you learn and why is this important to you? That'll help them to do that. And then the last two questions are huge. They're also going to be the same every week, but you want them to always take away an application point. So the last two questions are, how will you obey what you learned this week, or how will you apply what you learned this week? You want to give them something to take home with them, something to use in the week. And then the last question is, who will you share this with? So by asking these two questions at the end, you're making sure that they don't leave with just head knowledge, but they leave with some tangible ways to apply what they learned. And the reason why we're doing that is because at the end of the day, we want to make disciples, and we want to help our care group members to be disciples, and then also to make disciples of their own. So by applying the word and by sharing it, that's what they're learning to do. They're learning to be a disciple, and they're learning to make disciples. So I know that's really quick, but that's kind of how this material works. And then of course you want to close in prayer. Again, this is a guide. It's meant to help you facilitate the discussion. But as a leader, I think it's okay to take liberty to add questions here and there to change things up a little bit. So that's material. Now, real quick, I want to just go over what the material is for this week. So we're going to be talking about what we heard on Sunday, which is pursuing God's will with God. So point one, I'm just going to give you kind of like the main idea. Point one is, it says don't pursue God's will apart from God. And then it draws from Matthew chapter 7 verses 21 to 23. This is the teaching, Jesus' teaching, where he says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And he says, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, evildoers. The point of this section right here is very simple. Doing things for God. This is the conclusion that we want them to meditate on and to talk about. Doing things for God does not necessarily mean that you are close to Him. Being busy doing things for God doesn't mean you're close to God. So that's the main point. So the next question, which will be addressed in point number 2, is, well, if simply doing things for God doesn't mean we're close to Him, then how do we grow in our relationship with God? And the answer to that is in point number 2. Find your solitary place and make it sacred. Following the example of Jesus, you want to make time to just be with God, to cultivate that relationship with Him. And so you'll talk about that here. And then finally, the last point is kind of the other half of the question. How do you build a relationship with God? Be intimate with Him. And what I mean by that is be real. Don't hide your anguish. Don't hide your questions, your confusion. Make time for God, and then in that time, be real with God. Be open. And then of course you're going to want to close with some points of application. So that's all from me today. I didn't want to take too long, but I did want to give you a brief overview of what the material is like, the format, and then what we'll be talking about this week. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can contact me by email or by phone. Both of those are in the signature on my email. My email signature, you can find my email and phone number. So don't hesitate to contact me. I really love hearing from you guys. I love hearing things that are working, things that aren't working. It helps me to grow as someone who makes the material, and I just like to help in any way I can. So that's all from me today. I hope you guys have an amazing start to your care group, and I'm praying that this season is very productive and that you see relationships formed and people growing in their walk with Jesus. So God bless you guys, and I will talk to you soon.